my garden friends. Well, I'm cleaning my worm bin out today, and I've already gotten three full-size cans of my Folgers coffee. These are 37 ounce, so this is feels like about 4 pounds, and I've already gotten 2.5 of these. And I'm still in the bottom bin, and then the camera here is sitting on the second bin, and then I have the top bin. And I've had my gloves on for this whole time, so I actually still have clean hands. And I have pulled out a couple hundred worms are tucked in here and hiding, and that doesn't include any wisp or any cocoons. But I wanted to show you, let me just get my gloves back on so that maybe I can really dig in and do this. And by the way, these are the nitrile gloves. Is that what that says? Nitrile Touch. And I mean, they are really nice gloves that you can just take to the sink. And I usually leave my hands on there, leave them on my hands, and then I just wash my hands this way. And I really get it all off. But as you can see, I mean, I've got some really great castings here. But look at what I'm turning over. You can just see worms and worms and worms. And so I try to, make sure that I pull out my little friends here. And I'm getting really down to the nitty gritty of it, and try to count out some of those worms so that I wanted to try and count out 500 to see if I had that in there. And I would guess that I have at least that in this bottom tray. Remember, I started out with 2,000 worms back in 2009, and I never thought about multiplying any of them, or my whole reason for growing or having a worm bin was really just to lessen my carbon footprint way back when. And so if that's your reasoning and you don't want to multiply your worms, trust me, this can of worms has worked out well for me. It's only been recently that I decided that I was going to try to enlarge my population. And in doing so, I became very aware of the fact that these guys multiply so quickly. And here, let me just try and show an adult. Come here, big boy, girl. So there's probably close to an adult. I'm not seeing any patella on it quite yet. It's just when you're looking for them that you can't find them. You see it's starting to get a little poofy there. It's starting to look like he has his little turtleneck on. Anyway, fascinating worms, aren't they? And I'm finding that the more I play with them, with the idea of getting them to expand, I'm not really raising them to sell or anything, but wouldn't it be nice if I could have more? It's like any hobby, you want more and more and more. So anyway, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. Like I said, I started, oh, here it is. Here's one. See how you can, come here. Now I'm working with gloves and I can't quite catch them. Here you can see he's starting to swell back in that area. Can you see that? Let me just get a good handful here. Wait. Oh, hello. I'll put those guys back. See how he's starting to swell up back here? Can you see that? He and his friends. But it's that red wiggler, that yellow tail. It's quite distinctive little fellas. And that was really all I wanted to show you, was just, you know, how great they are. And I also wanted to show you how, with putting the eggshells right in your, grinding your eggshells, rather than just crushing them. I used to use, it was a little chopper, it was a little Oster chopper, and you could put anything in it. And so I would put my eggshells in there and let them grind them up, and they were coming out, the pieces were coming out, they were small and they were usable, but they were on the bottom here, on the bottom of this, they were getting, I mean, I would have like 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch of just white grit, and it wasn't going through, and the worms didn't seem like they were really able to process it. And then when I would take those castings that had all that grit in there, and I would put it out in my yard, then it would get just as hard as a rock and it wouldn't break down. So now, whenever I'm doing this and I grind my eggshells, then it seems like they're small enough that they go through the worm. And for those of you who don't know, they take it in and eat it just like they're eating anything else, and then it goes down into their stomach and their gizzard, and just like a bird, they a bird will pick up a stone to grind against a seed to break the seed down. Well, the worm does the same action, and it's grinding whatever food is in there to help push it through. And I don't want to be too graphic, but it's kind of like, it's like a stool softener. It kind of helps move things gliding right through the intestines. So I hope that made that clear. And when I use my castings now, these are such great gloves. You get them on, you can't get them off. When I use my castings now, they seem to work so much better, and they dissolve in the ground, or I should say they kind of, I don't want to say melt, but they mix with the soil, and they seem to take up into the plant so much better. So I'm going to try to turn my camera around here. Let me just see what I can do. There we go. Now you know where I am. And I'm just going to back this off and show you that a lot of the times underneath, the worms will congregate. Oh, I don't have anybody congregating under there, probably because I just lifted it, sorry. But I did want to show you one thing other than that, and that is my top lid. Somebody in the neighborhood just got a new dog, so they have a puppy. Every morning, if I give too much water to my can of worms here, I will have these mites. Didn't have them for the first, probably, I don't know, 10 years. I'm going on 12 and a half years now, but about a year and a half ago, I started noticing that I was getting mites. Now, these are white mites. They're not going to hurt the worms, and they are a composting mite, so they're actually helping towards the situation. But if I get too much liquid in there, then they really, they just get gross. So every morning when I come out, then I lift the lid, and I have about this many on there if I keep it moist to not so moist, okay? And so what I do is I just take this whole lid out and I rinse it out, and as you can see, let me see if I can get up there close. they're really not moving anymore. After about an hour or two, they depend on moisture. If they don't have moisture, they die pretty quickly. I just see one little thing there moving around, kind of a couple of them. But for the most part, they've become very inactive, and rinsed out outside, I don't think they're going to live. So I take this, you can see the holes in the lid, that provides an oxygen path for the worms, so they're able to get enough oxygen to survive, but things don't really pass back and forth. Now this is the middle tray, and you can see that this middle tray looks like some nice crumbles in it, doesn't it? And I'll probably be able to harvest a can full, quite possibly. This one I'll clean out. Any worms that I find, they'll go back into the, either to this one, which is pretty well broken down, or to this one, which is all pretty much fresh food. And I started taking my paper towels, you know, I'm either just wiping my hands real quick, or, you know, whatever, and I started throwing them in on top of it, instead of throwing them away in the trash. And you can see I have my banana peels, and this is dryer lint. Our clothes are cotton, so there's no problem there. I've got toilet paper rolls. Let's see, anything else in there? Coffee grounds, loads of coffee grounds. I wish I had a source for more coffee grounds. But there would be plenty of worms in here. Let me just pull my claw. Hang on just a sec. I don't want to hurt anybody. Well, here, let me show you this. This is the middle tray. And I'm guessing that there are lots and lots of worms just tucked in there. It's about 70 degrees, so the worms are just cozy in there. There's quite a few, and I don't want to disturb them. I'm just going to put them back because I want to harvest here on top. Sorry. Okay, quit hanging on. Come on, this isn't a test. This is a test. No, it isn't a test. Okay, and let's see what we've got here. Now this is the top tray, and this is probably, maybe, I used to be able to fill this thing in less than a month, you know, and between coffee grounds, coffee filters, banana peels, strawberry tops, paper towel rolls, toilet paper rolls, just, you know, whatever I was giving it. I don't give it anything too smelly or harsh or odorific, let's say, because this sits right off my kitchen. So let me just pull back, and we'll see if we have any worms in our top level. Oh yeah. So you can see, I mean, I have worms on all 3 levels with a can of worms. They occupy the whole thing. So it seems to be a kind of a different system than so many of you have, and I've noticed just in keeping them, starting a cocoon nursery, and also in having an adolescent just in a bin versus having these 3 layers. And let me see if I can back this off a little bit. Does that work? Oh, there we go. This is the bottom well, and you can see I've got worms in it also. Let me just show you. This is where the liquids collect, and there's a spigot here on the front. You see the spigot? I have it turned off. But the worms will collect on this. They'll drop down, and this gives them a place to tuck and hide. But can you see all the worms that I've gotten there? I'm guessing if I pulled this apart and counted it, I'd have 500-600 worms just in there, and probably about the same in here, and about the same in here. So my original 2,000, you know, some people say that, well, you could have, you know, a couple thousand at each level, and then they will regulate themselves. I don't know about that. Whether I have my 2,000, obviously they're not the original 2,000, since worms only live for a maximum, I think, of a few years, and this has been 12 and a half, so these guys wouldn't even be able to crawl anymore. They would be walking along with their little canes. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that. This is the bottom level. This was the bottom tray. This was the middle tray. And this was the top tray. Once this is cleaned out, this will be the bottom tray. This will be our middle tray. And we'll probably, I'll wait a couple weeks until this has a little bit more volume to it. You want to make sure that you have enough in here that when you put this next tray on, can you see the rim here? Okay, well, here's the rim, but then here's the little wing that holds the next tray in place. Now the next tray in place will sit to this level. So this is going to sit right where that rim was, but this is going to hold it up. And so anyway, I'll give this a couple weeks till I give it a good fill, and then this tray, this will become the top tray, and I will put something thin like newspaper or something down first, and then start feeding it. That way the food and everything doesn't fall through the holes, and any worms that are wanting to move up from this top tray to what will be the top tray can just eat the little paper and make a hole and come right through. So anyway, I think that probably explains it all. For any of you who haven't seen this, I try to show it once every 5-6 weeks when I'm doing it, because I think if you're new to my channel, then you're going, what is she talking about, a can of worms? And like I said, this was my first and only system that I had back in 2009, and at the time all I did was have it to lessen my carbon footprint, which everybody knows what it means now, but 13 years ago people were going, what do you mean you have worms? You know, isn't there medication for that? So anyway, garden what you've got. Anybody who's interested in vermiculture, please, if you have any questions, please ask me. I would be more than happy to help you get started and pass on what little knowledge that I do know. I'm not an expert at it, but I'm more than willing to share any knowledge that I have. So take care. I hope you will subscribe to my channel and ring the bell, and I hope you'll watch this whole video. That would be just absolutely marvelous. So come back and see me real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.